Please, Panos.
All right. Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome on behalf of the Institute of Computer Science at Forth. Well, since its founding in 1983, the Institute of Computer Science has earned international recognition, and our research operates at the forefront of computer science and digital technologies, addressing global scientific developments as well as the needs of Greek society and economy. We have also contributed to the development of information society technologies, aiming for a digital society that is accessible and beneficial for all citizens. Our mission is especially critical today. Digital technologies shape nearly every aspect of our lives, from the way we work and communicate to the way we learn, create, and participate in society. These technologies are not neutral. They embed choices, values, and priorities. As Stavroula Doa, a researcher at our Human-Computer Interaction Laboratory, recently pointed out, algorithms often underestimate women and produce gender bias. Indeed, one of the pressing challenges in our scientific community is algorithmic bias and the ways artificial intelligence can reproduce or even amplify social inequalities. Doa highlights three main sources: bias in the training data, bias in system design, and bias already present in society that inevitably appears in technological systems. The solution is not to break the machines as the Luddites once did, but to design AI systems that consider all users, taking the necessary steps to ensure that they are genuinely inclusive. In response, the Institute has launched an horizontal initiative on inclusion, diversity, and gender equality in computer science. It brings together researchers, staff, and decision makers to foster a culture where inclusion and equality are fundamental, not optional. We also collaborate with civil society, such as the Association of Women's Organization of Heraklion, to integrate gender-sensitive considerations into research and technology, addressing issues like gender-based violence and harassment. Scientific excellence and social responsibility are not separate paths. They are two sides of the same mission. Research and technology realize their full value when they contribute to a fairer, more open, and more inclusive society. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Magda, for organizing this terrific event today, and I wish you an engaging and inspiring day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Panos. Really?
Thank you, Magda. Welcome to Crete. Welcome to Forth. It's a pleasure to see that some of the initiatives that we initiated, that we started a couple of years, are continuing, and there is activity ongoing in the context of projects like the CoARA project, but others as well. We started by observing the obvious, that is, in ICTs and engineering sciences, there is no equitable representation of women. And being a large organization, we wanted to do something about that and see, at the least, raise awareness that we need to increase our numbers and fix our, ratios. But beyond that, the more we examine the issue, the more we discover that, first of all, it's not only our own problem, but it's a worldwide phenomenon. And there is a lot of science behind that. I mean, it's not just to observe a phenomenon, but it's also to take advantage of the knowledge that other organizations have gathered by examining measures on how to address this issue. And thanks to Magda, Maria, and other people that contributed, we initiated this Mind the Gender Gap movement, but also took it a few steps further. And we established a network at the European level in the context of ERSIM, the European Research Consortium on Informatics and Mathematics. And we created a working group co-chaired by Magda and a colleague from NTNU in Norway. And now this working group is starting to meet virtually at first, organize working sessions, and hopefully in the near future we'll see at least reports or even the joint submission of proposals at the European Commission in order to fund such initiatives across Europe. So all in all, I think it's something that we should be constantly looking into and at least provide the conditions that are necessary for an equitable representation of gender in ICTs and across Forth, of course, if possible. So thanks again for taking the time to visit us, and looking forward to listening to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Anna, the floor is yours. You can introduce yourself also.
Right.
It's not necessary to do it. Just let's share your slides. Yes. Okay. No. Yes, this is it, but hold on. So we're here and we do. Let's share. Hold on. Γιατί δεν το βλέπω. Share.
And with share sound.
Share sound.
Maybe
Okay.
optimize.
Okay. These two. And let's have this. Share. Is it okay?
Excellent. Thank you, Magda.
Fantastic. Okay.
Let's hide this. Okay. All right. Can you hear me online?
I can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
All right. So welcome, everybody. Thank you, Magda, for the invitation. My name is Anna Slavi, and as Magda mentioned, but maybe not everybody heard it, I come from Johannes Kepler University from Linz, Austria. But 1 year ago, when we started this collaboration, I was still at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. And we started this collaboration through ERSIM, which was already mentioned before. We first edited this volume on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And actually, this led to a number of other collaborations. And I was very happy to support you and Maria on this journey of the project. I was happy to host you and even happier to be here. So today I'm going to talk to you about diversity, equity, and inclusion in computer science, but also beyond. My main expertise is in computer science, but let's say I also venture out into broader STEM areas. Usually I like to start by asking the question, why we need initiatives like this, or why we need to have talks like this. And although some consequences were already mentioned in the two intros, I always like to show some numbers. So my first question would be, what do you think would be the proportion of women in adult society?
Maybe a bit more than 50.
Yes, you're actually right. So it's 51%. So actually women are supposed to be in slight majority when it comes to our society. But of course, our main focus now is STEM. So let's first look at STEM majors. What do you think would be the proportion of women in STEM university courses in Europe? Huh?
Around 25. Around 25. Yes.
What did you want to say? Okay, you're close actually. So on the European average, it's 33%. This needs to be clarified in the sense that this is STEM majors, not just computer science. And studies show that different disciplines, for example, chemistry, tends to be much more balanced. So this kind of improves the overall numbers. If, however, we focus on IT and already on the job market, which is ultimately the goal of education, what would you say is women's proportions in the IT sector? 17? Somebody bets differently? Okay, Mark is very positive, 35, but actually the number is closer to what I heard before, so 19%. And I'm very lucky because fourth numbers are right behind me. So those of you who are in the back, I'm gonna read up to you. So when we focus on the whole of fourth in the IT sector, it's 32%. Women constitute 32%. However, if we look at only the scientific workers, we are back at 17. So let's say similar to what we have on the European average.
The IT sector there is in the business, it's not the research community.
Not specifically research, so like the whole, the whole of it, yes. Regarding the consequences of women's scarcity, we already heard, for example, the bias in AI. And I wanted to show you actually one picture here. And before I do that, I want to ask who of you came to the lecture of Letizia Iaccheri about was it a year ago?
It was a year ago.
So Letizia Iaccheri gave a presentation here. She's also from NTNU like I was then. Was there anybody who was present at that presentation? You were. And do you maybe remember the image that she showed you about the 4 software engineers? So the short story is that about like 3 years ago, we generated an image with OpenAI, prompting it to create 4 software engineers. And this is usually the image that both Letizia and I tend to bring to keynotes to show. What do you expect? Or what do you remember? Maya says males. Well, actually, it's much more than that. Okay, so if you look at the pictures, not only that they are men, not only that they are white or like young, but if you look at the hair, the facial hair, even the clothing, they are copy-pasted from one another. And of course, the funniest thing is that it's not even 4, but 4.5. So you may say that, okay, this was 2-3 years ago. Now, what is the situation now? And I have to tell you that I did introduce the same prompt and to see what's the situation today. What do you think I got? You say similar, same? Actually, I was pretty surprised but the image I got was this. So you can see now the numbers are correct. On the one hand, it's 4. And
There is an error in the image because we see the code of this.
you're right, yes. So let's say it's not perfect, not perfect. But regarding the actual software engineers, there's a much better diversity. And you may ask, did the software engineering industry improve this much over the last 2-3 years? Exactly. So the numbers did not improve drastically. Actually, in my country, I originally come from Hungary. The numbers even gotten worse in the past 2-3 years. But actually, what did get better is the awareness and the recognition of what images and stereotypes cause. So it is actually this kind of awareness that I hope that my presentation and this project of yours generates. Because it first starts with the attitude, it first starts with recognizing what kind of acceptance we want to have for a field. If I see this picture, I can imagine myself a little better as opposed to, let's say, in a field like this, in which I see that I don't belong. So, yes. Before I show you some tools and best practices, which I hope will be the focus of today's presentation, I still wanted to walk you through the main obstacles. So why is it that there are so few women in fourth and in the global sphere? So here I wanted to show you one study that several of us conducted. It is not a problem if you cannot actually see all the sticky notes, but what you probably realize is that you see how many types of obstacles there are. So you can see there are 8 large groups that we identified in this study. This was actually a systematic literature review in which we tried to look at what are the obstacles that are listed that keep women from computer science. And we identified 8 large groups. You may see that the social kind of obstacles, then the belief-related and the educational obstacles were the largest. And also something that you actually can see without being able to read the text is that for each category, there are a number of subcategories. So you can see that it's a very, very complex of obstacles. I mention one connected to each of the obstacles to give you a better picture. So the main reason or the main obstacle that keeps women from computer science and general STEM is the stereotype that STEM is a masculine field, therefore it's unfeminine. It's not a place for girls. And as a consequence, when it comes to career counseling, usually women are steered away from this field in other directions, let's say more in the care sector. Additionally, it is also important to say that girls and women do not see a lot of female role models out there that would show them that despite the fact that the field is not advertised for them, there are others who made it. So the lack of role models is also an important obstacle. Studies show that even there are family-related obstacles. So usually girls get much less support than boys if they're considering such a field. And one very physical manifestation of this kind of support is the use of computers or electronics. So maybe this might come as a surprise to you, but in households which have several children, but one or limited number of PCs or laptops, studies show that the boys or the sons tend to be the primary users of these equipment. And even in my case, and I grew up in the 90s, we had a computer because my father was in the IT business, but I also had two brothers, and those brothers loved computer games. So at the end of the day, I never got to sit at the computer. And what this causes is that girls are much less exposed, and might have much less early exposure to computing-related activities. And when they come to school, they have a much lower self-efficacy. Self-efficacy means how good I think I am at informatics, maths, or general STEM fields. And as a consequence of this, and also because teachers or some teachers have internalized the social stereotypes about STEM and girls versus boys, girls tend to have unpleasant classroom experiences much more than boys. And additionally, if we look at the pay gap, it must also be said that one further reason why women are much less attracted to the field is because they still earn much less in the field than men, no matter which country you focus on. So altogether, what this image is supposed to show you is that for multiple reasons, it's much harder for women to enter the field. And even when they enter the field, because they are in minority, it's much harder for them to actually stay and advance. And the obstacles, some of these obstacles that are listed are general, but as we go along in the career path, there are different focuses in what are the main challenges. And what I'm showing you here is that in one of the projects called UGAIN, which was a European project focusing on creating a European network for gender balance in informatics, we focused on the different stages of the computing career. And in these booklets, all of which can be downloaded from the website to which the QR code leads you, we try to explore the specific obstacles on the specific stages and provide some best practices. For FORTH, I think the policy recommendations, so the last booklet, would be the most relevant because there we specifically try to offer some approaches for organizations like FORTH. So feel free to take a look at it and use the resources. Okay, now let's focus on the tools. Ultimately, this is what matters the most. So how we can increase the numbers, both by attracting more women and by keeping them, is through focusing on creating a better sense of belonging. Because if there's a better sense of belonging, it's more likely that people are attracted to the field or want to stay in the field. And today I'm going to show you three large topics of approaches. The first one would be role models. Who are role models, first of all? Role models are people that have certain qualities that we would like to obtain or we would like to perfect about ourselves. But the second important characteristics is that they are somewhat relatable. So I can identify with them. It's not only that they are a little better than me, but not so much better that it's unattainable. And the help that role models give is that they show us that if they made it in the field, if they achieved some success, then we can do that too. So in this way, they can help overcome stereotypes and some of the obstacles that I listed before. So now a question. Can you think of any role models for you in the field that may have attracted you to computer science or whichever field you belong to? Yeah, usually this is what I get, not a lot of answers. I also like to ask my students, and in previous computer science courses, the most frequent answers I got was that I don't have role models, or Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and that's it. Now, I'm teaching this gender-related course for STEM students, so I specified, can you think of a female role model, and how many can you list? This was at the start of the course, because I was interested in what knowledge they come with. So I repeat, this was not a specifically computer science related course, but STEM, so I had some chemistry students as well. The most popular answer was Marie Curie. Then Ada Lovelace, and maybe this one you will not know. This is Hedy Lamarr, who is an Austro-Hungarian personality from the early 20th century. She became a Hollywood star, but next to this, she also contributed to the invention of frequency hopping, which became the basis of Wi-Fi. So I was pretty happy that some of them knew Hedy Lamarr. Why is the black thing over there? So I'm showing you the answers. So you can see, or maybe you cannot see, most of them wrote, like the large majority wrote Marie Curie, then Ada Lovelace still, and then some other American personalities, which probably they knew from movies. Then Lisa Meitner would be Austrian, but then you can see the rest are pretty, I would say, random. Altogether, students could name 1, maximum 2 role models. And what was nice to see is that some of them listed their professors, among them myself. So that was nice to see. But altogether, what you can see here is that these are very big names, you know, Nobel Prize, big innovations. So on the one hand, it's clear that they are inspiring, but they're also quite high above us. So how many of us can expect to get a Nobel Prize? Not many of us. So at the end of the day, they are not very relatable. So this is why in some of the projects that I had the chance to take part in, our deliverables or our goals were to create awareness about more relatable role models. So what you can see here is that in this project UGAIN, we recorded short videos with people in the field. Some of them even my students. Here, next to them is Letizia. And the essence there was that we wanted them to talk a little bit about what inspires them or what brought them to the field, to give first-hand experience to people about what it means to work in computer science. Because on the one hand, most of the time, there's a big myth about what it means to be in the field. It sometimes tends to feel as if this is a very technical field with not a lot of connection to real life. And what these videos are supposed to show is to debunk the myth that computing is actually a very social, socially relevant and fun and inspiring field with a diversity of people there. So why I'm showing this to you is because this is also something that Forth could easily realize. It doesn't take a lot of resources. These are just short videos that we eventually uploaded to YouTube Shorts and to TikTok. And you can just record videos with people that work at Forth to show the real faces behind this large organization and to show the diversity of projects you work on, the diversity of people that already work in. This makes Forth even more kind of attractive. And the important thing is to show people relatable role models. Now, the second tool that I wanted to show you is mentoring, which was already mentioned by Magda before. So what is mentoring? Mentoring is a support system, let's say a service, and a relationship between a more experienced, typically older mentor and a less experienced, typically younger mentee. And the type of support that the mentor gives to the mentee varies. It can be professional knowledge, it can be sharing networks, it can be sharing resources, it can be profile building, etc. What is a little better about mentoring than role models is that in mentoring, you have a direct relationship with a role model figure. So with a role model, you don't have to have a direct relationship, but in mentoring, you actually have a real person that you interact with, who will serve as a reference point to you and provide a little personalized help. But of course, it's a much more, it's a harder service to provide than, let's say, this role model videos that I showed you. Here, you need the expertise, you need the know-how, you need resources to realize it. But actually, mentoring has shown to work, and it has been used in very different points of the professional life cycle, from the school system, K-12 education, to or through university, and even in the professional part of the life cycle. For example, Girls in Tech is a global initiative which helps girls obtain some coding skills. While on the university level, I'm going to talk a little bit about this Women STEM Up Erasmus Plus project, which may be a basis for the project that you were talking about. And regarding professional mentoring, different universities and organizations have their own different mentoring schemes. The one that I'm listing here is specifically for my institution. So like I said, mentoring has shown to work, but it's challenging to set it up, and even more challenging to keep it up, because you need people to do the mentoring, so you need the mentors, but you also need a lot of resources and guides. So that is why this project, Women STEM Up, comes in handy, because there our deliverables were to create resources that people can freely use. So once you scan this QR code, you'll see that we created this long guide to setting up a mentoring program, from, for example, how you can define the expectations, how you can train the mentors, how you can match mentors and mentees, whether you should do e-mentoring versus live mentoring, what are the obstacles, what are the benefits, etc. So if you are thinking about setting up a mentoring program, here's a practical tool that you can use to start it. We also created another kind of resource, which is specifically about how to train the mentors. because it's not enough just to select experienced people from fourth. You also need to teach them how to be mentors. It's not self-evident. So this guide would be helpful in that. And among them, it also explains why it's good even for mentors to take part in it. Because, for the mentee, it's obvious that, they receive some help. But sometimes you also need to explain to the mentor, because most of the time this is a free service. So you need to kind of compensate those who take part in mentoring for the time that they have put into it. So this training package would be a help for that too. And you also see that connected to this project, we created short videos in which we explain the different topics, like matching, how long the mentoring program should last, how long the mentoring session should be, etc. And this is all backed up by literature. So hopefully this will help you in the idea of setting up a mentoring program, even if just to start. Now the third, besides role models and mentoring, it's also important to underline that networks and communities have a lot of influence in making people feel that they belong. So this site that I wanted to show you, but you will not be able to scan because of this, but you will get my slides and you will be able to check everything. So some students of mine focused on creating a tool, a website, whose essence was to bring together people who were somewhat similar in specifically software engineering. So let's say they're all women, or they're all Greek, they all have a disability, whatever, because research shows that if you can connect with people that you perceive to be similar to you, then it's much more likely that you feel that you have a space in that community. So in this website, they created the chance for people to connect with one another and also to read articles about the field. So what I'm trying to say here is that the fact that Forth has already a community is a great resource, because at the end of the day, you are already a support system for one another. And the more events like this you organize, the more you can bring people together, and the more you kind of planting the seeds of collaboration for other people to feel that we share similar problems, or that maybe you're sharing resources with one another. So I'd say one of the great things about today is that 3 projects will exchange experiences, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a chance for you to share what works in your institute, or what are some challenges in your institute, in order to exchange experiences. And actually, at a later part of this lecture, we are turning into a workshop in which you will have the chance to talk about your own institutes in small groups to find some common grounds. And now, what I wanted to show you was actually some case study connected to the aforementioned course. So, remember the number of women on the European level in STEM courses was 33%. But at my university, the number varies between 10 to 28%, so it's below the European average. Actually, it's one of the lowest in Austria. What I mean by 10 to 28 is this. So what you can see here is the bachelor level. And as we go more to the right, as we advance in the academic career, the lower it goes. The last number would be the professor level. So you can see that we start at 28%. So women constitute 28% on the bachelor level, but at the professor level, they're only 10% women. And actually in Austria, thankfully, there's a government initiative that de facto equality, 50%, needs to be achieved on every level. Of course, that's the initiative. The reality is, of course, very different, but at least that gives the push to the leadership of the university to do something about the situation. And what they do about this problem is that they made it compulsory for every student in a STEM major, whether it's chemistry, physics, mathematics, computer science, AI, to attend at least one gender-related course throughout their studies, which is, coming from Hungary, is pretty exceptional, because in Hungary, we don't even have gender as a term. It's banned, it doesn't exist. In Austria or in JKU, every student needs to be exposed to the idea of gender equality at least for half a year.
Anna, such courses, do they exist in other Austrian universities, or it is an innovative idea of JKU?
Yeah. So when I was talking about others in Austria and Germany, they were surprised. So that means that they don't have compulsory gender courses in their own university's curriculum. So I guess because the numbers are so low at JKU, the leadership tried to influence some sort of change. But I have to say that over the years, we did not see a radical shift yet, but hopefully in the long run there will be.
And how many years does this course exist?
So what I know is that my department has been around for, I want to say 50 years, which doesn't mean that the courses have been there for 50 years, but my department serves the entire university, meaning that we are the ones that provide these compulsory courses. I would guess, now I'm really guessing here, is that in the past 10 years, there must have been gender courses for STEM, but before probably it was much more the economic, political science majors that we were serving. But at least for the past 10 years, it's been like this. So each of the majors have to have at least one gender course in their curriculum, from the bachelor level to the PhD level. So one JK student will be exposed to a gender course at least once, but maybe even 3 times during their studies. And of course, you can ask, how does this work? Because students hate compulsory courses. And many of them even find gender to be too politicized, to care about it, too feminist, etc. And I have to say that over the past year, I did notice some resistance, but overall, students seem to be more engaged than I thought. And the reason for this is that some of the themes that I introduced in the course are something that makes it relatable for them. So the point of this course is actually to make it relatable for students rather than just a political evoke idea. So for example, we focus on gender stereotypes, and stereotypes are something that everybody can relate to. We talk about gender biases. I introduced the term intersectionality in order for them to understand that it's a very complex situation which goes beyond just gender. Then we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion as these initiatives work in the tech sector and what kind of backlash lately there have been against them. And of course, AI and gender is also a large topic. Also because many of my students come from a bachelor course of AI. And then we also focus on how their specific education influenced their path. Because, for example, like I said, those who chose chemistry chose a field which are much more gender balanced as opposed to those who chose computer science or AI. Yes. And the other important part of this course is that I try to make it interactive. And for this, project-based learning is crucial. So that means the students are working on their own projects throughout the course instead of just listening to me talk, because that can be very boring. So what it means is that throughout the semester, they design and implement their own intervention projects. I'm going to explain this later, in order to affect some kind of real change in their environments. And by doing intervention projects, they are forced to collaborate because students work in groups. And this is also something that later on when we go to the workshop, I will hope to bring to you. So that collaboration is also something that brings out more creative ideas than when we just do it alone. So let me explain a little bit about intervention projects. So an intervention project is a practical project in which you identify some specific issue within the large question of diversity, equity, and inclusion in computing. And you try to think of some practical steps in a shorter time frame that you can realize to make a small change. So students have 3 months because they need to do something in one semester. And like, I was really curious to see what creative ideas students will come up with. And I was really impressed, and I was happy that even Magda could see some of these presentations in January. So you may have guessed that many of my students did digital interventions, which means some kind of social media campaigns. Of course, this is the 18 to 21 age gaps, like they're on social media all the time. So they thought this is the most effortless thing for them, and this is how they can reach most of their peers. So some of them did Instagram campaigns, some of them designed websites connected to some specific project connected to diversity, equity, inclusion in their STEM field. There were others who realized some intervention on the spot, so like on campus. This was like designing posters, infographics, something, for example, to visualize what are the numbers in their departments or the institutes. Some of them created brochures, some of them distributed stickers. So I thought that these two types of intervention projects are something that you could also implement here at Forth. We are in the digital age. You have a website, you have newsletters. So these are tools to reach a lot of people. And even the posters, brochures, stickers is something that I think you already started doing. And these are not so resource intensive interventions. And finally, some of the students went out to schools because they thought it's great to to have digital or on-campus interventions, but the change must come earlier. So to go out to the future generations, they gave workshops and trainings, which is also something that maybe Forth is already doing to kind of reach out to society a little better. Now let me give you some specific examples, because the hope is here that by showing you what students could do in just a couple of months, you realize how much creative power you also have here at Forth, that you can also implement yourself. So for example, one group was focusing on the specific problem of the health gap in medicine. And they named themselves FemOpSTEM, so they really did the effort of create a name and create also a logo. And they posted something like 7 to 10 posts on Instagram, and then advertised their campaign. Their idea was to create awareness about the health gap in the medical profession. Then this was also a group of chemistry students who focused on the gap in drug testing. So what they wanted to raise awareness about was how pharmaceutical companies tend to still mainly test their drugs on men because it's much more expensive to involve women with the hormone changes, etc. But the consequences of this one-sided testing leads to problems with the efficiency of these drugs for women and the side effects. So this group was focusing on spreading awareness about the need to test drugs in a more gender-neutral way. Still an Instagram campaign. Then another group was focusing on interviewing professors in order to create more awareness about gender bias against female professors. Remember, female professors only constitute 10% of the university. So these students were interested in what kind of stereotypes and negative bias these professors face. So this was a YouTube campaign. And then another group created a website, the point of which was to lead to a confidence quiz. And this was aiming to talk to younger girls. So they created this website and with the confidence quiz, they wanted to help girls see or raise awareness about how confident they feel about STEM in order to give them tools to improve their self-efficacy. Then this specific campaign was really creative because this group was an artistic branch. They all came from different countries, different backgrounds. And what they noticed was that the main role models that are out there are not from their own background. So they wanted to see, they wanted to raise awareness about lesser known role models, for example, from Italy, from India, etc., by creating comics, short comics. So they thought that comics are so easy to digest. They're something that would more easily raise awareness in the student population. So they actually drew the comics themselves and created a website from which these comics could be downloaded and more information about these role models could be shared. So in addition to the digital interventions, there were also students who thought they wanted to make their own environments more inclusive. So they focused on the JKU campus. This group was inspired by the Artemis campaign of NASA. You know, April the 1st, they're gonna send the next group to space, and for the first time, there will be a woman there. So this group wanted to raise awareness to the fact that so few women were sent to space, 0, and as a consequence, testing on how the female body would react in space was lacking. So they wanted to campaign for sending more women to space in order to have more data about women's bodies. Then there was this group who you met, actually. The story behind this campaign was that earlier last year, there was a job ad at JKU, which wanted to hire a professor for the AI department, and this call was only open for women. And people were really outraged. I mean, some people were outraged and were questioning whether it was legal to put up an ad which only accepted females of applicants. And the short answer to this question is that it is legal in Austria in such situations when affirmative action is to help women reach the 50%. You know, remember, it's only 10% at this stage. But these students wanted to find out why there was such a big resistance from students and from some academics. And what they found out from their survey is that people had not a clear idea about what diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives were. So most people were okay with the ideas, the principles of reaching better diversity and inclusion, but they did not know what kind of initiatives were out there and how they worked. So these students created these brochures which spread more awareness about diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus, and also gave ideas to the JKU leadership how to communicate these initiatives better. So think why this specific campaign can be useful for you as well is to know that it's important not only to campaign for the principles, but also to communicate how certain steps are being made for this initiative so that the kind of community understands it better. Then there was this other group who wanted to campaign for the empowerment of women from bachelor to master level, and they went with stickers. And why I wanted to show you this is because it seemed like such a simple idea, because you can see that clearly the stickers were created by AI, but these stickers went so long, they reached so many people on campus, they were put on mobile phones, they were put on lunch boxes, that in the end it turned out to be a very good awareness raising campaign. So once again, stickers can go a long way and reach people. Then, like I said, outreach campaigns in the real world can also go a long way. I wonder if you know the Draw a Scientist test. This is an experiment which have been there since the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. And usually it's in school settings, so for children that it's being tested. And the idea is to see what kind of stereotypes children have about scientists, or sometimes it's like engineers, sometimes it's software engineers. because usually children don't have real life experience with scientists, carpenters, etc. So it's just the stereotypes that they have about those professions. And this specific group went to school and did this test in order to see and work with students about their stereotypes. And personally, what was really interesting for me is not only the gender aspect of the stereotypes, but that students or pupils had the idea that scientists are poor. So this is one more stereotype that we need to break in order to make our profession to be more attractive. That is that it is not a poor field. Then gamification is also an important or an attractive way to raise awareness about stereotypes and about the importance of women and diversity in STEM. And the last point that I wanted to bring up about these initiatives is that I wanted to show you the course video in which students themselves talk about their interventions. And now I will go to YouTube because I think here it doesn't play, but let me try. No, it doesn't play. So then, let me show you the video here. Yeah, stop share. Let me see. Yeah. Okay, share again. Wait. Share sound. Okay, and hide this. Let's see. Is it too loud or is it okay?
I'm teaching this really exciting course at JKU, which I would love to introduce to you. You know, the lack of gender balance in STEM is a huge problem which needs practical solutions. So in this course, students are designing their own intervention projects to impact change in their environments, to make STEM more inclusive and diverse.
Hello, we're Group BO1 and we are doing an intervention project for the Gender and STEM class. So gender-based DEI initiatives at JKU in regards to the AI department has sparked some debate, and we're going to be exploring how and why people misunderstand DEI initiatives and how true inclusion can be achieved.
Our project will gather insights from surveys and interviews to give a big picture of how women experiences in AI at JKU and beyond.
We will compare DEI perspective from around the world, observing how DEI is implemented differently and what solution we can get for the academia.
I will coordinate in the group and I will manage surveys, collection and data analysis and ensure all the voices in our findings are true.
Then we share these insights with the university community for better understanding about DEIs and informed discussions on DEI.
We are students of Gender Studies class at Johannes Kepler Universität, and we are doing an intervention project mainly targeted at scientific students at JKU, at the university, but also at school courses who are coming to visit the university.
Our main aim is to raise awareness of minority scientists in order to give the opportunity to every student to have a role model to identify with.
We aim to do that with the help of comics and posters, flyers, where we depict all the sad scientists in a good way so people can identify with them. And we want to place them in front of the corresponding institutes. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Christoph. This is my team from the Gender Study Group, and we want to introduce you our topic of our Gender Study project, which is the gender gap in medical trials. So what is it about? Our main focus is that pharmaceutical companies, when they design their drugs, they use the standardized human body. But what is the standardized human body? It's a model which uses a male 70-kilogram person, and therefore they design their drugs. And this, of course, can lead to problems for especially women, because they don't fit just in this model, and so they more often suffer under too high doses or side effect of drugs.
Therefore, we want to create a social media platform where we inform people about this serious issue. We want to share surveys, we want to share articles, we want to summarize some longer pages about this and give you the data that you need to understand this topic. We want to inform you, so please follow us on our social media. Thank you.
As a topic for our intervention project, we chose the treatment of women in medicine because we are oftentimes not being taken serious and undermined by doctors, and this is something we want to change.
And because we experienced this in our personal lives and saw our loved ones in hard situations where doctors couldn't do anything just because of the gender differences, this is why we want to spread awareness.
To achieve our goal, we're going to start a social media campaign where we post quotes from famous people and also our intervention project so that people know what we are talking about and we raise awareness.
And we will ask for the support of the OHA, which already have a larger following base, so we can hopefully reach more people.
Right, so to finish up this part, the last question that you saw on the screen is, how would you make STEM more inclusive? So in the workshop part, this is what we will try to focus on. Hopefully we will create small groups and help you discuss what you see as problems that you yourself can change in order to help this project or start your own project. So I think now we can have the short break.
Okay. We can have 10 minutes break.
Yes.
And then do the rest of the workshop.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
We have, if there are any questions, but we have a session for questions at the end. I don't know if Panagiotis Tsakhalidis, I don't know if you will be with us in the workshop part, or if
I just have time for one question before I go to my appointment later this afternoon. Thank you so much, Anna, for this very interesting presentation. I just have a question slash, a comment slash question. You showed ways to make easier for women and other underrepresented groups to be involved, especially, I mean, in general in STEM, but especially in computer science and AI. And what I realized from, my own classes in the computer science department is that when I integrate specific examples or even better societal applications of let's say I teach probability or computing or AI, I get much more interest from my students. So I mean, I suppose there are studies that show that the women, I mean, everybody in general, but especially women often, have greater interest in computing when they see a clear societal impact, right? For example, if you show, computing or AI for healthcare diagnosis or for climate modeling, etc. When you emphasize this human-centered part of our discipline, then you do get broader participation. Is that something that you have noticed during your, your studies of the matter?
Yes, definitely. Studies even show that women tend to how should I say? So there tend to be a difference in what the different genders find interesting about computing. So while more men or more boys find the technical aspect, the technical challenges interesting about computer science, but women tend to need or tend to want to focus on the social relevance, like you said. So that's why it's important to show that STEM is much more than the technical, let's say, the hard science part, and also about collaboration, also about fighting for social good, connecting it with the real world to kind of paint a more complex picture of computing. So I definitely see that whenever we connect computing with the real world, I'm emphasizing how important it is for social problems, then more people find a connection to it. So definitely, and I think that's why I wanted to make this course into something practical, in which students feel that they can give back to community, that they can connect their discipline with real world problems.
Right.
Thank you for the comment.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Then shall we have the break?
Yes, let's do it. Let's break.
Yeah. So the idea behind the workshop is to collect ideas from you in order to give a little inspiration to any of the projects here, or to kind of lay the groundwork for further projects here on FORTH, with the idea to make FORTH more gender inclusive. And I'm trying to switch. Yes. To make the FORTH a little more inclusive. And the idea was to go about this intervention project style, so something like what the students were doing. And as I explained earlier, an intervention project is a practical implementation of a series of ideas which focus on a specific challenge. So let's say we have these numbers as the problem, so that fourth is not diverse or not inclusive enough, but what is something more specific within this that you think you can make a little better in, let's say, a couple of months. So usually intervention projects have like a limited scope, even less than a year. So the idea was originally to have several people from different institutes, so they share ideas, what the institute is lacking or what is not working so well regarding gender balance, and to think about some short interventions. And so the idea was that I created this Excel, which we printed and which will also be on the screen, in which there are 3 large questions that I wanted to guide the conversation by. So the first one is what I just said. What is the specific challenge that you find to be the biggest, or something that you feel you have some ideas about how it can be made better? So specific challenge with a specific target audience. A specific target audience could be your institute, or, I mean, I would say something smaller than fourth. Then, once you identify that problem, like remember some of my students were focusing on the lack of transparency about what is diversity, equity, and inclusion, or others were focusing on the gender gap in medicine, so something more specific within the larger theme of diversity, equity, inclusion in STEM. Think about how that change can be achieved. Is it like a series of newsletters? Is it like creating a poster of information? Is it by going out in a school and talking about fourth, something like this? And then think about some steps. And once again, the important thing is to think for short term. So what is it that you can realize in, let's say, a couple of months? And then we can kind of broaden it to a year. Since now it's basically only the 3 of you plus myself, maybe instead of the original idea of taking groups and giving them time to discuss, we could do it together somehow. So this was also the QR code, but this is basically to the thing that we printed. So this is the idea. Yeah, let's brainstorm together. Yes. Maybe they'll also come here. So then, are you from the same institute?
No, I'm from the environmental course. But I'm social science.
Oh, nice. Originally me too.
Ah, yeah. What's it?
Actually, I'm focusing in general linguistics, PhD, then we can switch to the gender and then linguistics. Yeah,
you know, it's statistics.
So, yeah. So, like you were an example of diversity.
Yes, I would like one more at least. To have the same language, maybe, and understand better some.
So then, if you think about these student projects, was there anything that you think could be easily implemented in fourth?
From my experience here, only 1 year. Actually, I have an anniversary today on here.
Oh, nice.
I think that the issue is that we are doing workshops and seminars
and presentations like that, for example, a lot, I think. And the committee is pretty active, the committee of the conference. But I think that the issue is that maybe it has to be sometimes, compulsory.
Oh yeah, okay.
To the administration, maybe to the APIs. I understand that maybe this is a bit difficult for all of us, because also it's not a university, many people have to go. But at least some administration and the APIs of the labs here, I think that at least one or two super basic seminars, it has to be compulsory, because at least in IBD, I had done 2 seminars in the gender group on IBD, and I talked to the people of the biomedicine about what's the difference of sex and gender, for example. And I was saying to my supervisor that this is super basic. I think I'm a little bit embarrassed to talk about they will be bored. But even the people that they are in the biomedical science, most of them have no idea what is really the difference. Or what is really used to be transfer, like super basic things. And for me, it was a bit disappointing because you are doing the biomedical research. This is something super important. So maybe just make some things compulsory.
So what you're saying is that there are already seminars, there's already the expertise, but since it's not compulsory, not a lot of people actually show up. So the information does not get to a lot of people.
The brainstorm on how to increase participation in events with this thematic.
Whose authority would it be to say this is a compulsory event?
If you want my humble opinion, I think it is not an environment where you could have compulsory action.
On this topic or at all? On this topic?
No, everybody. I don't, yes, we don't have. It's not the culture. If you only compulsory think about food, it's an issue that is related to safety. Safety and regulations, for example, if you're handling lasers or yeah, I think every person is involved in the form and they deal with such things as to go through a training. Possible covering hazards in computer science. This is also related to MBA and to the culture of the place to have compulsory actions. And so I don't think this will be a successful path. Moreover, as a subject, it is, as you mentioned earlier, there is the idea of hard science and soft tasks. So this is considered as a soft task, which means that people have other priorities, etc. In my opinion, what will make probably in the long run, what will make probably the change is to insist, never mind, that we will have participation, we will keep on said that it seems that there will be some funding around the issue. This will be concentrated. I think it will create some activity and some critical mass. I think we have to be patient and insisting.
Also, like, even if it cannot be made compulsory, just to make people realize that it's useful simply because in European project proposals, there is the gender equality element that must be present. So like maybe if the communication was, if you want to understand how to make, I don't know, a successful project proposal, you need to consider gender equality considerations. And here you go, there's a presentation about it.
Exactly. But this is sorry, that's completely my view on the point. Because we have a research institute which is not funded by the national government. So 1,600 people, 300 of them are private positions. Okay. So the rest of them are trying all the time to have access to funding in order to secure their jobs in their system. So it's always about giving money in order to be able to do your job. So I think this is a major point because a lot of the European policies are changing and the gender issue is a core activity. People should realize that this is a core component of their proposals. It's not something that they just mention in like one sentence. They are paying attention to that part. And because at some point we don't have balanced teams, implementation teams, you're gonna miss some points with regulation. So I think this is something that we need to understand. There are some policies that we need to follow, but not only gender, but also the sustainable business, all this stuff. So there are some policies that we need to follow. We need to train ourselves on how to treat these issues because at some point we will be able to
so maybe starting from the project funding and from the sustainable development goals, and within that putting in the gender elements.
I also believe that we should definitely, and this is my idea for some time now, that we should definitely stop discussing only for gender. We should discuss a broader subject, which is the inclusion, diversity, especially in computer science, where there are issues, social issues in in ICT development in general, in tools and systems, etc., and all this discussion about AI and bias, and so probably broadening the focus will create an incentive, and moreover, broadening it even further to combine it with techno-ethics. As we're up to now, ethics in STEM sciences had to do mainly with bioethics. But now, definitely, we can start discussing in philosophy. It has been a long story already, discussing about technology ethics. And so, if we start viewing and enlightening this issue from that point of view, I think it will create some difference. This is my hint, of course, and I cannot prove it right now. But I also agree with that
lot. Maybe our scope has to be a little more intersectional, general, and not strictly one. It's more relation is women. We cannot talk about women like it's one social group, like it's one category. Like I cannot say that I have the same difficulties with as a Greek white person here in Greece with someone that is like from India and doesn't know the language, and you know. So yeah, I fully agree with that. We have to be a little bit more intersectional.
Yeah, like I always try to explain to my students, because half of them typically are men, to understand that it's not that we are talking about somebody else's problem, but we are also talking about problems regarding them. So like when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we're not only talking about women, but other kinds of exactly, like privilege and lack of privilege. So maybe if you can make the majority here understand that you're not trying to take away spots from them, that it's not against men, but it's diversity serves everyone, maybe it will be more welcome. And you were talking about mentoring as an option, right? Or mentoring, yeah, or mentoring would be more focused on the upcoming projects, maybe. Yeah. So mentoring, would that be something that could be realized?
Okay. Mentoring, as you mentioned, is a big project. So it needs some design and some considerations in advance. I mean, you have to carefully focus on what will be will it be the career progress, the career development, mentoring? What will be the focus? And then you have to find the specialists. Are they going to be insiders, outsiders? What is your focus group? And also someone in order to participate, especially as a mentor, will it be volunteer issue? Will he gain something from this activity? I mean, there are things that have to be carefully considered, discussed, and designed. And I don't think we are yet there, but I think it would be very helpful to set up a mentoring scheme in FORTH, for example, but we have to discuss what will be the focus, how we do it, in order to be successful. Otherwise, it will be, it will not go very far. And this is my idea. And probably through these project proposals, we might have the chance to come closer to a clear view and clear idea of what would be helpful for our organization to do, and probably how to do. We don't have we don't have the knowledge and the experience right now. We need to approach this issue, start approaching this issue.
At NTNU, what we experienced was that gender balance or any kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion can only be achieved if there are multiple projects, one after another, which can build on top of another. Because on the one hand, then there are resources to allocate to that. On the other hand, there's visibility. Because if the community notices that somebody keeps getting funds to do gender-related or diversity and inclusion-related initiatives, that's a confirmation. This is a real topic. This is an important topic, and they will pay more attention. So I guess applying for projects is an important next step. Exactly. Because one project unfortunately will not change a lot of things. It's only if it's sustainable, and several projects can be focusing on similar initiatives.
Institute for Gender Studies at CoARA Boost. Amazing because it also demonstrates the leadership is committed to that part and how important it is. So by doing an action like that, formally establishing and viewing office for this issue, so that this is something that is very strong and it has potential. This is also a good idea. I think it is important to have dedicated resources, human resources, not only financial resources, but human resources to work on this specifically. So, and of course, to have human resources, you need, I would say, first most, you need systemic and decisive from the point of view of the organization to decide to devote personnel and also fund these activities in order to have dedicated people to work on this for the organization. For example, as we have the accountant's office for the administrative office, or the people who take care of the traveling, or I think you need to have dedicated manpower.
Do I understand it correctly that now, because of this project, you created a committee?
No, the committee already existed.
Okay.
And you will have the chance to listen to a presentation later on, and that will make clear to you the history of the committee, etc. I would say, from my personal experience, that the project and the idea of the project is the result of myself being part of this committee and start understanding what we are talking about. And of course, Maria's help to set up a project proposal and have this small funding for 12 months.
But let's say if the leadership says, why create a position for a person working on it when we have the committee? How is it different?
Okay, what is the difference? The committee is an advisory, how to say, it has an advisory role. The committee is not operational. Do you understand what I mean? The committee.
So they cannot make decisions?
Cannot make decisions, can make proposals, advices, and yes. To the leadership, who, for example, the committee, for example, could suggest that for this and this and this reason, we should create an office. This is our paradigm, an office for FORTH, and that will deal with this specific thing, okay? The committee cannot operate this. The committee will suggest, and the leadership should take the decision to implement or to apply. Okay. Now, but also this is in the high level. Okay. Then each institute has its own special needs. So this is how I understand my role here. That okay, I got the big picture, and I introspect my institute, our institute, and see what we can do in our, own discipline, which might not be the same as for the IMBB, for example, institute. Okay. It might be, we might have completely, for example, especially also in research activities. I mean, you have a different discipline, you have to approach things differently, you have different methodologies, so this is the idea. I also believe that it is very important, and we have people. You had an example from our director. We have researchers in Computer Science Institute that they work on diversity and inclusivity issues within their research specialty. We have to energize these people and understand that they could produce research results under this concept. Do you understand what I mean?
For example, one thing that came to my mind is that at JKU we have some research or teaching excellence grants every year, and then sometimes they specify a topic. So this is also something that could really encourage scholars. If let's say at FORTH they created a small prize. It doesn't have to be very monetary. Small prize, so money or any kind of prize, in which you say we are gonna honor the best diversity, equity, inclusion related research project. So this gives a little boost to people doing research on this field. Yeah, a little visibility, and for the community to see that this is a relevant research topic. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It doesn't have to be a lot of resource. It's more the attitude change to underline that there's some research out there, and we value that research out there. And if there's more scholarship around diversity, equity, and inclusion, then there's more knowledge that can be implemented in FORTH. So something small like that could also send a message to the FORTH community. Or to, let's say that instead of, let's say, hiring one person who would be dedicated to this, saying that, I don't know, 10 or 20% of your work load can be dedicated to diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. And then you don't need to hire any person and think about, oh, it's too much money. What did you say? Yeah.
Because we have lots of issues. There are problems that are related to handling sensitive cases and so on. So it's good to have a reference for it. This is something that needs to be communicated with the agency for. It is essential for something that people who have an activity, such a future organization, you need to have. And for example, and also other work for them. As I said before, writing all the time proposals. This office and look at the proposals and point out which issues they have deal with or propose measures and so on. So we can have a very sensible role.
Also now, I've been in many projects. We had a mini project here. We know this. George Tsakiraki's project, but also others. And also the project I went another institute, the JO Energy Institute, that they invited us to a winning project they had in their expertise. These projects have a branch that has to do with soft skills, with inclusion issues, with gender issues, how to progress as a researcher, for example, and they do workshops within the project, and they have the main focus, which is actually the expertise in computer science and their specific field, and they have parallel activities that have to do with, for example, career development within this specific area, and they do workshops for this. So this combination has, at least to some projects, some kind, some projects, this combination has started to exist. So this may be also a chance.
But this was mandatory for this type of projects.
That's what I mean. This was mandatory.
One of the things that they were asking for is some twinning projects, some of the wider analysis. So Europe says that we will try to help assist the wider analysis by having some projects where the advanced partners come together with organizations from wider countries in order to transfer knowledge. So it was mandatory to have actions on this specific gender-related issues. So that's why all this dynamic now, there are more workshops and so on, because it was something mandatory since we were discussing about it before. So it can be mandatory if you need to include that in a project.
Yes. This is, I think, this is an important thing. This is the conclusion.
Yeah, so we're getting back to the fact that you need to win more projects.
That's our problem. We don't have any support from the government, so we need all the time to attract funding. And we are a research-based organization. We don't have students and teaching courses and so on. So it's like a job, and we have to do some job, and all the other actions are complementary. So we need to change a little bit our mentality. So all these are steps towards the right direction, but definitely will take time.
And also, from Beatrice, that now we are in the Include project, which is a similar project for biomedicine, genetic liquids. There are 11 different institutions and universities in this project. PB, which is the only Greek institution, is the only institution that has one person for the field. And like me, this is one person. All of the other institutions, one woman show. And all of the other institutions have 3 or maybe 4 people, but we have the same deliverables.
Yeah.
We have the same workload. And I think that maybe that is worse sometimes that's not having the project at all. Because when there is only one person, you cannot do. You need a team.
Yeah.
You need a team because you need to use all of your power and time for the deliverables, for the rewards, for things that the people don't know. This is okay because this is not something interesting or something relevant. So the things that are meaningful and sustainable, we cannot really do that if we don't have the money, if we don't have the personnel.
Yeah.
The workload also, like we have created a gender equality working group for IBB to help us do these things and create posters together and to utilize our products, interest, IBB, and do all these things. But again, the workload for everyone, for this, and I think the workload is crazy. We have so many work to do. So when you are not dedicated, when your job is not on gender equality, for example, and for inclusivity, of course, if you have only 1 hour in your 8 or 10 hours, you cannot give it to okay, not it, but like go to the meeting with the gender equality.
Yeah.
So I agree with the girls that the thing is more of it's systemic. It should become systemic. Yes. But this is just a problem that we face because, as I said, every person will mind. Of course, we need to have people involved with several projects. There's many times that one person is involved in 3 or 4 projects, and it's not enough time to someone system. Let's wrap up.
Yes.
And have some, coffee and short lunch outside.
Yes.
And because it will be the rest of the speakers, presenters will be soon with us, and we'll proceed with the rest of the.
All right. So thank you for your thoughts, and we'll continue brainstorming. Thank you.
Last time, we share the slides with us.
Yes, you already have the slides, so feel free to.
Last slide, there is some bibliography from her past work. So you can use the QR code and visit the bibliography. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's have a break.
What can the hide? Hide floating meeting controls. Tell us now, please. Okay. Sort of the back this one. So you can sort of enlarge the slides. Calls. All right. So, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining this workshop that we are organized within the project, this Cascade project that we run within the ICT, the Institute of Computer Science, that has to do with gender imbalances in the ICT sector. So the project is funded by CoARA. I think Magda will tell you more about this project later on. I was asked today to do a presentation, and I thought that a nice topic that is not so popular to discuss about is the role of research managers. So I will also ask a question, as Anna did in the morning session. Do you know what are the research managers, or which is their role? No. Okay, so I wanted to discuss about this issue because this is becoming more and more popular, especially if you've seen within the training projects. They say that please describe actions for empowering research managers. And the people are asking, but which are the research managers? So today I will try to briefly introduce the role of research managers, why they are important in research, in the implementation of research projects, and what are the gender balances within the profession of research managers. So the research managers are professionals who enable and drive research and innovation. They are not researchers, they are not the people who are actually doing the research work. They are the people who support the full research cycle, from the idea conception to writing proposals to funding and the actual impact of the research work. They usually act as connectors between researchers, institutions, funders, society, VCs, and so on. And they have expertise in how to attract funding, in how to write proposals, the strategy that you have to implement within your research work, the project management, of course, of the project, and the impact of the research work that we're conducting. So their main scope is to turn the research ideas that they come from the researchers into successful, funded, and impactful projects. So we can say that the research managers, they are not doing everything. There are different types of people who are working at various support actions to the researchers that actually have the research manager title. So we can have assistance from research managers before attracting funding, because they are the people who can identify funding opportunities for research work. They can build the consortia, they write the proposals, they design the project concepts and so on. If the project gets funded and then the researchers have to do the work, the research work, the research managers are the people who are doing the project management, the budget, the financial. They are responsible for the deliverables in order to be in line with the timelines and so on. And of course, ensure compliance with the EU rules and to coordinate the overall project. And after and beyond the duration of the project, they are also responsible for the communication and dissemination actions. The people who are in charge for the communication and dissemination actions are also called research managers. The people who are involved in the technology transfer processes, the exploitation, and the policy alignment. So as you can understand, this is not just one person who is doing everything, but there are people in different positions who are doing different parts of this assistance to the researchers that have the title of the research managers. Why they are important? There's a lag here, okay. Because usually they have the knowledge and the expertise to assist researchers on how to write a competitive funding project proposal. So I believe that you have already heard about different offices that they are now in charge of writing proposals because they have the expertise and they have the time. They have this wrong concept here in Greece that the researcher has to do everything. No, the researcher has to do the research work, and all the other complementarity actions should be carried out by people who have to do that, who have the knowledge to support researchers. So the research managers actually allow researchers to focus on the science and the research work and not the administrative part of the project implementation. They ensure that projects are well managed, compliant, and delivered on time. They also strengthen the institutional capacity and international collaboration. Usually they are responsible also for networking activities, and they try to bridge the gap between research, policy, industry, and society. Usually they have academic backgrounds. The majority of the research managers have PhDs or masters, usually in STEM sciences, social sciences, or humanities. Many of them are former researchers. They have experience in research,
And at some point in their career, they decided to stop the actual research work and move into management. I'm one of those cases. They also have interdisciplinary profiles. They combine science skills, as I said before, with management, policy, or business knowledge. They have additional expertise, and they are very familiar with various funding programs in order to assist the researchers. So there is a lot of diversity in backgrounds in terms of the research managers. And why we're talking now about the research managers? Have you all heard, I think you have all heard about the European Research Area, which is the European framework for a unified research and innovation system across Europe. And according to CoARA, we need to have a homogenized field of research throughout Europe. So according to Article 17, they put a lot of emphasis, according to Action 17, ERA is placing a lot of emphasis on the role of research managers because they recognize that they are essential components in the actual research work. So they have been trying during the last 4 or 5 years to recognize and strengthen the research management profession. There is not a profession, a recognized profession for research managers. So for example, when my kids ask me what job I am doing, there is not a single word to describe what I am doing. And this is not just for my case, there are for the case of many, many, many people around Europe who are working in this environment, and they don't have a title for their profession. So during the last 3 or 4 years, I think, the EU have funded 2 projects that are related to the research managers, and they try to identify and map the European landscape in order to suggest some titles for the people working in such environments, and they're carrying out this type of work. So they concluded that the best title is the research managers. So they are trying now to recognize the research management profession. So according to Action 17, they are trying now to professionalize, as I said, the research managers across Europe. They have recognized that the research managers promote the skills development, training, and career pathways, and they are going to implement, I guess, some Marie Curie actions for research managers, chairs for research managers. So they're trying to do some mobility, to introduce some mobility actions for research managers, because they suggest that they are essential components in a very well-organized organization and research institute. So they need to be very, very well trained and capable to do the work. They have also introduced the RM-COMP framework, which is a very complicated framework where it describes very clearly the different roles that the research managers have inside an organization or research institute. They also aim to improve institutional capacity and project performance. And Action 17 of the ERA policy agenda encourages the recognition of research managers as key actors in the research system. So we have been discussing today that there is a very small representation of females, especially in the STEM science and ICT. In the profession of the research managers, this is the opposite. About 70% of the people working as research managers, I can show you here some data, are females. And this has a very, about 70% of the total of research managers are females. And this has a logic. Usually, as I said before, research managers are usually people who have started as researchers, but then at some point they realized that I can't continue in this path, and I shall make a shift. And in many cases, they become research managers. And usually these professionals are females. because they are facing a lot of challenges, difficulties. And if we consider that females have also family issues and they are still facing lots of problems, let's say, in their career development, at some point they decide that I cannot follow a research career. So this is what explains those numbers, because majority of the research managers have PhDs and they have started their profession as researchers. So, however, as we already discussed today, about 9%, I think this is a little bit low, of inventors are women. So the research ecosystem is male dominant. So female research managers, which is the majority, has to work with an ecosystem, within an ecosystem that is male dominant. So there is an extra challenge there in order to be able to work and do all the necessary things to be very good in your job and be recognized. The other important factor is that even though the majority of research managers are women, in the leadership of research managers are males. So 70% are females, but most of them in the leadership roles are males. So this shows that even though many times we say that we are very happy and very lucky to be working in an environment that promotes equality, diversity, and so on, it seems that there are some points there which should be taken better care of. So the good thing is that there are some positive trends now, even for the profession of the research managers, and it is an ERA priority. Please be very careful when you're submitting proposals now for Horizon Europe and all the other funding schemes, because they are all asking for gender equality plans, for measures to promote researchers and equality between the team implementation and so on. And please remember to also mention research managers, because they are also looking now for research managers as well. It is a key priority for ERA.
So you need to include research managers in your
measures on how to promote
the team members.
It should be good to have a team member which is balanced. In many cases, for example, in ICT, in our institute, this is not the case. In many labs, it's like one female and 25 males. So you cannot show a balance in the team.
You need to include a research manager in your team. This is a requirement.
It is not a requirement, but it is good to show that I'm also considering research managers as a core component of the team implementation.
In your experience, is it better to have an independent partner as a research manager, or it can be as a team member in one of the participants?
No. You should have them inside your organizations. All the organizations have they already have research managers. They have now introduced a title for all the people at the central administration, for people doing the project management. So this is the difference. So probably you have already seen in some calls for proposals that they're explicitly mentioning research managers. The research managers can be considered all the people that are working within the central administration, the people doing the project management, communication dissemination, the financial monitoring, and so on. So they are now trying to put a title in this profession. So this is the whole idea. And you have to comply with that because this is something that is already decided. So that's it for me. I don't want to talk too much. I was an ambassador for Greece for one of those two projects that were funded within the ERA, trying to identify the roles of research managers and what measures should be taken in order to improve their capacity, do capacity building actions and so on. So it was a very interesting experience. I learned a lot from that project, and I learned that I have a title. I can be called a research manager. Thank you very much. That's why I'm not continuing my research.
Please raise your questions now because she has to leave at 3.
Thank you.
Usually we don't have research. No research. Maybe you are in the Institute of Informatics, but all the other institutes, there is our institute. So no, it's all the people. Yeah, but they are not doing all the things that you said. They are not writing, they are not.
Some groups in our institute.
Groups.
Yes, this is the idea that there is not one person to do everything.
Oh, I mean, so, you said writing, dissemination, finance, all these.
This is a different roles. So if you see the iron one, it has a very complicated structure and figure, but solves a certain amount of time. People with financial background who are dealing with financial monitoring, project managers, project graphics, topics, people who are doing communication dissemination, people who are doing technology transfer. The topics for this in different areas, but all of them have the same title. They are trying to do the same title for all of them. So this is the whole idea behind the research campus initiative, let's say.
Is there other web-based or web-based software that they get the everyday management of projects?
Yeah, there are different softwares. You would monitor the project. Yeah, there are different softwares.
Are they useful? I mean, is it useful to buy something like that and to
so we need to be better to invest one single person to do the management of the project. Instead of software, personalized software, if you don't have one dedicated to working with the software, be responsible for the project, it's easy to miss the information. For me, it's also very good to invest to a person to do the project management. Which should be considered person. You have been working on a project like that, dedicated project manager for only one project, and it went very, very well. It went very smoothly, and there were no delays, and everything was, he was not a researcher, he was not doing any research work. He was a person who's background in social sciences, and he was responsible for the management program.
one good department, not for the whole insurance?
We were the coordinators. That's why.
So
Even
more
if there are
important.
problems, yes, you need someone to yeah, because the researchers, that's the main point. The researchers are researchers. They have
I cannot agree more, but these are money.
yes, exactly.
And then you need a separate person to do the dissemination, a separate person to do finance, a separate person to do the finance, whatever. Then there are no money for research. That's why I said that centrally there is not such an office that would have a few people, but people with huge using the license.
On the other hand, maybe an institute for the groups that are in the same area, like polyers. There are like 4 or 5 groups there. You can only hire one person to be in charge of the report, communication manager, and then sell the course. Because this is one of the problems. The researchers shouldn't do the project management, shouldn't write, shouldn't be responsible for the exploitation, for the IP, for the impact, whatever.
agree.
You will introduce yourself. Let's be informal. Let me check. This is okay. Hold on. Share. No, this is it, right?
Yes.
Δεν είναι. Εκεί. Νομίζω ότι τον είχα πατήσει. Πήγαμε λίγο. Αυτό δεν είναι. Ναι, ναι. Here you are.
Okay, hello on my side as well. Let me start by apologizing for not being with you this morning. It was not my wish that I had to be somewhere else. My name is Kiki Christopoulou, and I'm standing here with you today as the chair of the Gender Equality and Anti-Discrimination Committee of FORTH. I am a researcher in the Institute of Electronic Structure and Laser of FORTH. In the next 15-20 minutes, I'll try briefly to describe to you some short history of this committee and what we have tried through the years to do. So we are very proud that FORTH was among the institutions that even since 2018, before it has become necessary for all institutions to have a gender equality committee, that was among the institutions that appointed a 5-member working group to develop the first gender equality plan for FORTH. These people did this plan, and this plan was valid up to very recently, up to 2025. In 2021, the board of directors of FORTH decided the appointment of a new committee, which would consist of 1 regular and 1 alternate member of each one of the institutes of FORTH, in order to make a more detailed gender equality plan, and that would deal with all gender issues and handle out related projects. That committee was, as you can see here, fully balanced, fully gender balanced. One of the responsibilities of this committee was to develop the internal regulation of the committee. So the first thing that this regulation was decided was how this committee would be elected or appointed. So the decision and what is written in the regulation is that the new committee is appointed by the board of directors after an open call that goes to the whole personnel of FORTH. And it should consist of 4 researchers or collaborative faculty members, 4 employees, and 1 other postdoc or PhD, regular members, and the respective members as alternate members. In this case, the ratio is 60-40, female-male, 60-40. So, what was the duties of this Gender Equality Committee was to develop the detailed gender equality plan, which would be an integrated part of the regulation of FORTH. To rephrase all official documents following a non-sexistic language, to collect data to see where we stand as an institution, to create a protocol that will define the way that complaints should be, when a complaint is submitted, a detailed way how someone should handle this complaint, to monitor and improve all the procedures, hiring, promotion procedures, and to organize activities or events that either will train the employees of FORTH or disseminate the activities of the committee to all society. And of course, to monitor and try to improve this balance about personal and professional life. For all of this, of course, these were split in different working groups. It's what I said. And the result of the work that has been done in all these working groups was the gender equality plan of FORTH. Something that we were proud about was that the Gender Equality Committee of FORTH took the initiative to meet all the respective people, the gender equality committees of all the other research centers in Greece. So indeed, we met, and in 2022, with other committees of other 13 research centers, and we decided the establishment of an informal network of these gender equality committees. You see the logo here, which was organized similarly to a network of the university and targets to the exchange of good practices and ideas and to the development of collaborations between the different gender equality committees and organization of common activities and events. It was decided that the network should be chaired by different committee every 2 years, and the first chairing was done by FORTH, and currently the chair is the FNA Research Center. An important milestone that this network achieved was that we have a new law that establishes the work, the definition of what a gender equality committee for research in research centers should do. And because up to that point we were functioning informally, we are taking, we're following the universities. According to this law, we have also a new name. We are now a Gender Equality and Anti-Discrimination Committee, which acts as a consulting tool for the board of directors, and with a mission to promote gender equality as well as to be against all kinds of discrimination, gender, based on sexual orientation or ethnicity or religion, or all levels of discrimination. So, according to what I told you, one of the things that we had to do was to gather data. The data that we gathered was based in we gathered data with two different ways. One was based to the external evaluation that is held by the General Secretariat for Research and Innovation every 5 years, and each institute had to give official numbers. And the other is from a questionnaire that is usually sent, I say because it's not happening every year, annually by the National Documentation Center to the administration of FORTH. Each one has its weaknesses, and the biggest weakness is that there is not a complete overlap between the data collected by the two different ways. And we hope that this collaboration with the network will help us have a better or larger idea of what's happening in the whole research area in Greece. So just a few results. You can see here the whole personnel of FORTH divided in the different categories. And as you can see from the main categories, the researchers are 5%, almost 7.5% is the collaborating professors. We have almost 15% of scientific, technical personnel, postdoctoral researchers, and PhD students, whereas 60% is the administrative personnel. And overall, the men to women ratio is 60-40 in the total personnel. However, interesting is if we see by category the percentages, and if we start from the younger people, if we see PhD students, the situation is, you can say, good. It ranges from 40 to 49% of women, so it's not that bad. Similarly are the percentages for postdoctoral researchers. They are around 40% women and 60 men. However, when we go to the category of researchers or faculty members, the situation goes to 20% women, 80% men. So we have a strong difference. If you see the personnel, if you can see the scientific and technical personnel, we have 60% men and 40% women, whereas if we see the administrative personnel, this is completely opposite. We have 30% men, 70% women. Now, it becomes even worse if someone starts to look higher position. So what happens in fourth? The chair of the board of directors is male. Out of the 10 institutes of fourth, 9 have a male director, and it's only 1 that has a female director. We have 3 special units in fourth, which the 2 of them have a male head and 1 have female. The scientific councils, if you see, 8 have a president chair, man, and 1 only the chair of the scientific council as a female. In the administration, central administration, remember I told you the majority are women, although like Maria said before, although the majority are women, if we see the heads of the offices, 5 are men, male, 1 is women. So there is a glass ceiling. Even in this category, where we have the majority of women, it seems like there are few women in charge, as if they are not there to go after such a position, or they are not elected or chosen for such a position. So we should motivate people and train people better in order for women to have more and more higher positions. Some other thing what we did was that we proposed to the board of directors, and the board of directors decided to modify all official documents to be written in a non-sexistic language. Although we have tried, this includes contracts, form for job openings, ordering forms, etc. We have tried. Every time that I read the paper, I still see things that should be changed again, but we are progressing in this. Of course, all changes are respected by the committee, and we have also to train the personnel, all personnel to learn how to use a non-sexistic language. Greek language is not easy on this aspect, but we are trying. Of course, since we are anti-discrimination committee as well, we have to translate all documents in English as well. We have sent a questionnaire also to all personnel. It was a large questionnaire. It had many questions. We received a lot of answers. I want to stay at the point that 40% of the recipients of the total personnel of fourth answered partly the questionnaire, and 27% answered all the questions, which we consider as a good thing. So certain things that we can see in this questionnaire is that there are differences between the answers that you get from men and women. Even there are differences that in the part that men and women are represented equally at higher positions. There are people, even women, that believe, I showed you the numbers, that men and women are represented equally. The work-life balance, it says that this concerns all people, that they are very tired when they come home from the work. And something interesting is that in the question how many times work during the weekend, that men answer yes more than women. We don't know, maybe because women do other things in the house during the weekends. A difficult case is the questions having to do with bad behavior, harassment, and microaggregations. The good thing for our committee is that there are a lot of people that say they are confident, either absolutely confident or relatively confident, that they could say things like this to the committee. But the bad thing is that although the majority says that they haven't felt any such behavior within fourth, there are a number of people saying that they have felt such a bad misbehavior, and some of them say that this happened during the last 5 years, which is very important and we have to deal. So for this reason, we did this complaint resolution protocol. I'm not going to be in detail about this, which is going, if there is a formal report, a complaint, we know how to handle with it. We made a lot of activities, either organized within FORTH, or we participate in various activities, or we participated in all meetings, various things. We participated in all meetings of the network, or we participated in events organized by the network, or participated in events organized by other people and units. So at this point, I would like, I hope that I'm good in time, to acknowledge all the people that were members of the previous committee that did a lot of work. Magda, Georgina, myself were part of that committee as well. And this is the current Gender Equality Committee. I want to say that irrespectively of regular or alternate members in all the meetings who participate all together, all people have the chance to say their opinion and to discuss their opinion. And we all have to keep in mind that books, minds, and umbrellas work only if they are open. So thanks a lot. I think that only the committee members stay here. Questions? I'll be around if you want something. So share. This is yours. Let me, this is in PDF, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So, Magda, many thanks for inviting me to present an analysis of the questionnaire that was essentially completed a few years ago. It was part of the process for the HR logo. Males versus females, are they equally satisfied or dissatisfied regarding their working conditions in FORTH? Let's see. Yeah. Yes, of course. Let's see if this will. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So, HR excellence in research. So it's a quality label awarded by the European Commission to research institutions that implement high standards in how they manage their personnel. It is part of the human resources strategy for researchers. Now, okay. So, universities that display this logo, it's this logo up here. They align with the European Charter for Researchers. They follow the Code of Conduct for the recruitment of researchers. They promote transparent hiring, fair working conditions, career development support, research integrity, and mobility. So why it matters? It indicates a trustworthy and well-managed research environment. often favored in EU funding ecosystems. So this means that in a few years from now, you won't be able to actually submit a proposal in some calls if you don't have the logo. So this was pretty important for the admin, essentially for the senior managers in FORTH, I guess. So that's why they prioritized HR logo. So the logo signals commitment to open merit-based recruitment. It enhances institutional reputation and competitiveness. So first, in order to get the logo, research centers and universities should conduct a gap analysis which relates to the Charter and Code, which is essentially 40 principles. And the Charter and Code of research published, it's essentially, it's dictated from the European Union. So after the gap analysis is performed, they have to develop an action plan, let's say forming some committees that address bullying or additional actions, and undergo an external evaluation, commit to continuous monitoring and renewal. So it's not a very common logo among research centers and universities in Crete. The University of Crete is among the earliest adopters, and we started the procedures back in 2021. We were awarded the logo in 2023, but we expect that there will be an evaluation within this year. We will be evaluated, and there is, if we are not careful, there is a likelihood that we will essentially the logo will be removed from FORTH, and this is certainly not good. Okay, so it's a European quality stamp, to finalize with Magda's question. It's a European quality stamp for good research HR practices. So it reveals that an institution treats researchers fairly and professionally.
The evaluation, we remove the checklist of the evaluation procedure. And
so, as part of the evaluation, European evaluators will visit FORTH, and they will start asking questions. Perhaps they will come and ask you or any of you. And so they will ask you questions like, are you aware of the new committee that handles, let's say, complaints and whatever, discrimination issues, sexual harassment issues? So is there anything new that happened regarding sexual harassment since, let's say, 2021? Do you know of any actions that were taken? So it's not only about implementing actions, it's also about communicating what's available to the employee in order to battle harassment and any different type of complaint and so on. So I will focus on the questionnaire. It's basically 40 questions related to the 40 principles. We didn't have, let's say, a huge response rate, approximately 25% response rate among FORTH employees, and not so many females. Well, approximately 36% of the respondents were females. The majority, around 64%, were, let's say, from 30 to 50 years old. We had approximately 60% being postdoctoral researchers or collaborating faculty or full-time researchers in our research center. Approximately 20% of the respondents were PhD candidates, and we have an additional. So we have less than 20 in total respondents being functional scientists. We have PhD candidates here, postdoctoral researchers here, so around 80 postdoctoral researchers, research technicians around 40, researchers, permanent researchers in fourth around 60, and so on, university faculty around 20 respondents. So we have answers that range from insufficiently implemented, minus, to fully implemented, plus. So for us, the members of the committee that actually analyzed the questionnaire, the principles of particular interest are the ones that attain the highest percentages of minus, insufficiently implemented. So the ones in the top 25%, so the ones that had the most minus, so they are related to career advice, funding, and salary. So people were not satisfied with their salary, obviously. Stability of employment, handling of appeals, something that we know that now it's, it's treated by a specific committee in fourth. However, one of the most, let's say, critical questions with a high percentage in insufficiently implemented was also related to gender balance. So respondents were not very happy regarding gender balance in fourth. So the full question is, there are efforts to ensure gender balance at all levels of the organization in recruitment and promotion levels. So respondents were not satisfied. Actually, 4.3%, which was relatively high when we compare it to other questions in the questionnaire, said minus, insufficiently implemented. There is a long road for us if we essentially target improvement there. Okay, so the analysis of the questionnaire investigated gender inhomogeneity. This relates to what Kiki depicted earlier on. So we are trying to answer questions like, do different genders tend to respond differently? There's a particular statistical test that was applied in all 40 questions, and in some of them we have significant evidence in favor of gender-specific differences. So one of them, question 10, the non-discrimination practices of fourth are sufficient. Non-discrimination practices are sufficient. And if we see our response similar to what Kiki displayed, so the vast majority of men appear to be very happy with. However, you see that when you actually check the lower, essentially insufficiently implemented, partly implemented, the proportion, the relative proportion of females that are not, let's say, as satisfied is much higher. Okay, so it's clear that essentially there is very strong evidence against the hypothesis that males and females have the same viewpoint on this question. Okay, so non-discrimination. So essentially females are not as satisfied as males in this regard. So selection. Staff selections committees are composed of members with different professional qualification, expertise to ensure gender balance. Now, we can essentially bring up the fact that sometimes it's not easy to come up with a balanced selection committee when you start with, let's say, an unbalanced personnel in terms of, full-time researchers and professors. So in this case, again, we have females essentially expressing that this is not fully implemented in fourth. And there is significant difference when you compare their viewpoint to the viewpoint of their male colleagues. Okay, so another question with significant differences, and when we say significant, there is very strong evidence against the hypothesis of similar viewpoints. So to be identified, you need to have very strong evidence here. So stability and permanence of employment. This is perhaps the worst, essentially. And so employment stability for researchers and especially for fixed-term contractual researchers is ensured. So males and females shouldn't respond differently. Here, however, we observe, again, males are satisfied and females are not. Perhaps this is related to the fact that many permanent positions are male-dominated. So they are not worried about their jobs, okay? But a significant percentage of female employees are on fixed-term contracts, and they express their insecurity. Okay, so yeah.
These are actual numbers that you show there; they're not normalized with some numbers, right?
So these are actual numbers. However, when you observe that, for instance, in the fully implemented part, there is a huge gap here.
Of course.
And so it's like twice. And here you observe that there is slightly more female. This is an indication that the statistical test will show you, in this case, so not fully implemented, clearly not implemented. So it's
I don't see
more
that important difference between the two lower categories. I mean, there is some difference. I guess that if it's normalized by the actual number of women and actual number of men that answer, this would be higher.
So yes, we could display percentages. In this case, the percentage would be like that, and the percentage, it's true. In this case, it's basically the outcome of the statistical test that was emphasized. So it is reported in each graph, at the bottom of each graph. I have to apologize because this was prepared for internal, the purposes of the committee, HR Logo committee, and I just used some figures that I prepared, and I used them straight from the analysis that was undertaken like 3 years ago. So yeah, there is a substantial difference. So statistically significant differences were observed in these 3 questions out of the 40 questions. I mean, in all other questions, we didn't have strong evidence against the hypothesis that males and females have similar viewpoints. Now, does this mean that there are no differences in other questions? No. But in this evaluation, we were very conservative and we were requiring strong evidence against the null hypothesis. Okay, so there is certainly something there. Okay, so a significant fraction of the female employees do not agree with their male colleagues. So they don't believe that the 3 above mentioned principles are fully implemented. So that's why we have significantly higher percentages of minus, 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 plus in females for these questions. Now, just to emphasize the previous argument, similar analyses were performed to evaluate whether there were significant differences in the responses per age group, let's say less than 30, more than 50. So the same statistical test was applied in all 4 questions, but we didn't observe strong evidence against the null hypothesis that says, different age groups tend to see things similarly. Okay, so we didn't have, let's say, an age group that stands out, let's say, being dissatisfied. Similar, we didn't have significant differences per professional position, and that was kind of surprising. So we applied the same test in all 4 questions, and we didn't observe extreme, let's say, extreme p-values, that's the tool we use, to suggest strong evidence in favor of position-dependent responses. Okay, so overall, results were not, let's say, dramatically bad. This is just a summary of, let's say, what's the percentage of responses that were plus fully implemented. So we are doing great, basically, or we are doing really bad. So you will see that it's like less than 5% of the total responses that correspond to, we are doing bad. Okay, many responses actually, they look as if, we are doing really well. So still, the statistical analysis shows that there are issues that we need to improve. Just a second. So this is minus minus.
Yeah, above there are some points.
So you refer to this point. So these are just a second. Yeah. So we have no, let me explain. So for each questionnaire, we have a percentage of answers that is minus. Okay, so we have essentially the distribution of 270 something. Okay, so the outliers here, the circles, corresponds to individuals with more than 10% of the responses being minus. Okay, so more than 10%, more than 4, approximately 5, let's say 5, 6 responses minus. So they were clearly dissatisfied individuals in several topics of the question. Okay, although the vast majority essentially is clearly dissatisfied in, let's say, 3 or less questions. Okay, now on the other hand, you can see that you have plus in more than 60% of the respondents in terms of, how they respond, how different individuals respond. Okay, so I have included a few additional figures, again, related to, we don't have percentages here. We have just counts. So they display different age groups now, and different personnel types: university faculty, researcher A, B, C, and D. So that's all I had to present to you today. Many thanks for your attention, and I'll be happy to take questions. Okay, great. Of course, it's important to see, you know, what are the actions that essentially will improve our situation, and when the next questionnaire comes up, yeah, we need to be significantly improved relative to what we have till now. Many thanks again.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Should please, Sophia, come to the
Sorry, just give me 1 minute. This is it. So share this one. Share. Thank you. Hi. No, it's okay. Okay. Hi, I'm Sophia. You all know me here. I'm from social sciences. I'm a social worker. I'm doing my master now in gender studies and on systemic psychology. So I'm in a very different background from all of you and from all in Forth. So I'm part of the Include project. It's a project of Horizon Europe. It's about inclusivity in biomedical research specifically. But before I dive in more specifically in the Include project, we can see why inclusivity really matters in biomedical research. And it's actually pretty simple. Like biomedical research aims to generate knowledge and solutions for health outcomes for all the population. However, the problem is certain groups are systematically underrepresented, so the evidence that this research is producing is not accurately reflecting the diversity and the intersectionality of all the population. So this limits the applicability, the effectiveness, and of course the safety of all the medical interventions and also the drugs that we are taking. So we understand that inclusivity matters a lot in biomedical research to improve the research quality, to ensure inclusive and relevant data, and to foster innovation. And a bit more specifically on the gender bias in biomedical research, I think most of us have noticed that for a long period of time, the biomedical research has treated the male body as the default. And when I say the male body, I don't mean necessarily the human male body, but also mice and monkeys that we usually use in biomedical research is almost every time male. So women and genderqueer people in general have often been
until today excluded or not represented in the clinical science studies. Sorry. So in many cases, the sex and the gender are not even considered during the study design or in the data analysis. So here comes the project that I told you before. It's the Include project, a European initiative that advances gender equality and intersectionality in the biomedical research. It wants to develop and test specific pilot actions in the research institutions and in the universities that are part of this project, and to build capacity, training, and practical tools in order to make the biomedical sciences and research more inclusive and more fair. So why is this project important? This is some very basic data from 2024. And we can see that women occupy only the 26% of the EU university leadership roles. And specifically in biomedicine, only the 33% of senior scientific positions are occupied by women. And clinical trials, again, as we said before, the female representation is 1 woman for every 4 men. And this is until almost today. It's until 2024, and I think it's a bit sad. This is the partners of the Include project, is 11 different institutions and universities from 10 different countries of Europe. Very briefly, the objectives of this project is to assess the JEP of FORTH, to design some pilot actions in order to improve some policies and some tools about the inclusivity in IBB specifically, not in the FORTH in general, to build skills through tailored-made trainings, and to support the networking. So until today, we are about 1.5 years in this project. Some things that we have done is that we have interviewed individuals from IBB Institute. We have analyzed their responses, and based on that, we also analyzed the FORTH JEP, so to assess the needs and the weaknesses of that. We have also done 4 thematic hubs. The thematic hubs were workshops. 3 of them were online, and 1 of that was in person here in January, that we had a study visit here of all the Include members. And it was like seminars about how to include the gender in the content and in the method of biomedical research. So it was more practical. And we also received the train the trainers. It was some seminars for the institutions that are part of the Include. So we could gain some knowledge and then multiply it to the people in our workplace. And my personal favorite is that we were able to create a gender equality working group of IBB. And I think this is very important because we are talking about a very diverse team committed to promoting equity, inclusivity, and fairness across all levels of the research community in IBB. And our mission is to address gender-related challenges, to foster equal opportunities, and create a supportive, inclusive, and fair environment for everyone. So in this framework, about once a month or maybe once in 2 months, we have some meetings with this group, and we're trying collectively to design some pilot actions and to implement them in the IBB. Some of the pilot actions that we co-designed with the working group, it was that we could all together create some posters and put these posters in very crowded places in IBB. So we can spread awareness, tell the people in IBB who we are, what is include, why inclusion is important in biomedical research, like just to spread some awareness, to invite some speakers to be involved in the Researchers' Night. And also we are now trying to be more visible in diverse needs. We have already put menstrual products in all of the IBB restrooms. We're creating some signs in Greek, English, and on Braille language, so that it will be signs that they will lead to the restrooms for the people that they have disabilities, but we don't have any sign for that until now. And this will be not only for MBB, it will be like a fourth initiative. Also, this is us in the Researchers' Night. It was very interesting because we set the table with the MindGenGapICT and also with the fourth Gender Equality Committee. So we all had the same table. That was very interesting because we had many discussions with kids and with adults in general, that they were interesting. And because it was computer sciences, it was biomedical sciences, it was the whole fourth committee. So the discussions that we had, it was very lively, and it was like the bigger picture of the research in general. And that was the members that we, from IMBB Gender Equality Working Group, that we created the stickers and the flyers and the brochures to give to the people of the Researchers' Night. And lastly, we did some multiplying sessions. It was some training sessions for people here in IMBB. It was led by Iliana Maduka, which is in biomedical sciences, and by me. We talked about very basic things like what is sex, what is gender, what is JBV in academia, some very basic feminist issues that are also very relevant in the biomedical research, and the gender plus in the contents and methods of the research. And now our next step in our project is that we're creating a community of practice. It will be in the discourse. I don't know if you know, it is a platform like Discord, but more academic. It's for more academic purposes. It will be a community of practice about advancing gender equality and intersectionality in biomedical research. It will be open for everyone, for institutions, for universities, but also for individuals that they work in biomedicine or they are just interested in learning things about that. We will do a launch event on 22 of April, and if you want, you can also scan the QR code here if you want to be part of the launch event. It will be online, and I think it will be very interesting. So, lastly, some very interesting lessons that we gained from this project is that, first of all, gender neutral research is not gender equal research. Intersectionality, also we had this discussion before with Anna, is very important because it reveals all the hidden inequalities. It's not enough to talk about men and women. Okay, that's not enough. We have also to take into account other overlapping factors like the age, the disabilities, the class, because altogether they create different health outcomes in more complex ways. And the researchers need practical tools and guidance. This is actually the thing that I listen the most in IMBB. Like, many people are coming to me and they're like, okay, yeah, the seminars were fine, and now we know some things about why we need to be more inclusive in research. Okay, and now? Like, what can we do? What are the tools? What we can practically do? And I think this is the issue that we have to work a bit more in our institute. I think this is our biggest weakness in IBB, at least. And this is the Include team in IBB. It's Dr. Dianidis, Dr. Papucci, Dr. Markaki, Dr. Pitis, and me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if you have any questions.
I understand and justify, I understand why up to recently all the investigations that you were done in May met if we speak about humans. And because I mean we were in the house, men were everywhere, if they haven't assigned the stuff thought that there might be differences, okay, we would take it more. But with animals, did they choose?
Yes.
Say male mice or male monkeys, or it was?
Because
I don't know. I mean, yes, if it's a male.
it's because of the menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle, like yes, like
they want to avoid this.
Yes, because the hormonal, yes, the hormonal cycle of a male human, mice, monkey, whatever, is like 24 hours. It's just a day. But women have period, so they have a whole cycle. Yes, so that creates a complexity that also costs in research, because we have to try a specific drug in the, let's say, female mice when they are in the 3rd day of the cycle, in the end of the cycle, because our body reacts differently. And that's very interesting, because for me, this is the actual reason that we had to. Yes, yes. So many people until now, they were like, okay, this is too complex. We will not take it into account at all. So yeah, and mainly that's the reason.
So, sorry, if I may interpret, in some cases, if you capture, let's say, the male aspect, then you capture the female aspect. Like I was receiving complaints from colleagues who were saying, you know what, the dummies in the experiments that focus on crash tests, they are essentially almost everywhere it's male dummies. The thing is that when you actually comply with the requirements for a male, which is bigger, heavier, and so you need to cover larger space, then essentially you will comply for female. So it's not that they don't care about females, it's essentially the design of their experiment essentially dictates that if essentially you are doing okay for a male, then you are doing okay for the male, for the female option as well. However, it doesn't go the other way around, because you know we have, let's say, smaller females, and you know perhaps we will miss let's say the male's head if you know you use female down something. So there are such aspects in, you know, in the experiments.
Yeah, sure. And also there are some biomedical experiments that we don't really need the gender, and that's why we have quorums, for example, or but also in humans there are, okay, for example, heart attacks. Most of us know that heart attacks is something that it's a problem for men, mostly, okay? Like the data shows that mostly the men are having heart problems in general. But that's not true. Women also have a very big ratio of having heart attacks and heart problems. But the thing is that in women, the symptomata, the symptoms are very different. So it's not, we're not able to identify them. But yeah, sure, there are many experiments that this is not necessary. We're just talking about the experiments that they are necessary.
It's not only gender.
Yes.
Do we know what the statistics are changed? I mean, okay, 50 years ago, the men only fine.
I don't.
Now, is it better? Is it worse?
It's better.
Do we have any data?
It's better. I'm not sure about a specific number of data, but I know that it's better because now at least in Europe, I'm not sure how in the other continents that works, but at least in Europe, if your research is not gender, no funding, and it's not. Okay, so there is a lab in MBB that for sure has half males and half females. But that's not really the point because they don't, in the data of the research is altogether combined. So yeah, they have female and male, but they don't take it into account in the data analysis. So yes, halfway there. Yeah.
Oh, it was a book that read something about the men. We read something that they were killed, actually, many people in Africa, because there is something, people there that we didn't take into account, because we do all the tests in white states. So a lot of people were killed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will try to be very fast because we are all tired anymore. Let me... Okay. So, since we all know each other, I don't introduce myself. I'm Magda. I'm a staff member of FORTH-ICS. And since September 2026, and for 12 months, we have gained a small funding to run an institutional change project. It is a Cascade Funding under a Horizon Europe grant agreement called CoARA. This is the overall project, and we are subcontractors in a work package of this project that they fund certain types of also pilot and also cooperative projects, but this special case of projects are standalone projects, are institutional change projects. So the idea is to create, to introspect a case study for your institution and create guidelines and roadmaps and propose policies in order to tackle the specific problem, whatever. So we are looking at taking as how the incentive was the underrepresentation of the females in our discipline. But we try to broaden our focus and try to discuss about inclusivity and diversity and not only gender issues. We don't want to tackle only gender issues, but discuss more broadly the inclusivity, diversity, equity principles. So, okay, despite the excellence of FORTH and ICS FORTH, there are structural imbalances in participation, and this is an institutional challenge. Institutional structures, modus of operandi, research practices are often reinforce disparities. Moreover, there is limited methodology to guide sustainable integration of inclusivity, diversity, and equity principles in the research and also in the assessment of the research. Of course, females is a worldwide phenomenon. It's not only local here within ICS FORTH. Women remain underrepresented in this discipline. A challenge which is also, difficult to persuade the audience is that to try not to exclude, not excluding by inclusion initiatives. I mean, when we discuss about inclusion, it is not just a female issue, okay? It's not only a feminine, political, leftish idea. It's a matter of, how to say, try to give opportunities, equal opportunities or equity opportunities to everybody. It is important to have the male colleagues of the discipline who are the majority, to have them close to this idea, to raise the awareness and be supportive and creating an inclusive research environment is for the sake of everybody and not only for the female scientists or researchers. So what we try to do in this project is we are looking for a systemic approach to tackle these challenges, and CoARA Boost, our financial sponsor, provides the perfect framework and gave us the chance to dedicate some resources for some months and produce some proposals for our leadership, our institute. The mission of the project is to generate guidelines for interventions and policies concerning inclusion, diversity, and equity disparities in the workforce composition, as well as the governance structure and the research practice itself. The vision is an inclusive and gender-balanced research environment aligned with the CoARA vision. Okay, so Our key objective is to analyze some data, propose evidence-based interventions, and ensure long-lasting transformation. We expect the expected impact is an institutional shift from scattered initiatives to systematic approaches, a cultural shift, improved inclusivity, diversity, and equity for research teams and administrative bodies of the institution. And of course, we would like to have a sustainable proposals, and something that we find also very important, especially in computer science, is to integrate such principles, this dimension, in the research practice as well as the outcomes. A lot of discussion is around these days about AI and the bias it puts when it is used, for example, in recruiting software, for example, or we had examples in the morning by Anna of give me 4 computer scientists, and the picture that comes out from the ChatGPT or the OpenAI software is, 4 male, white, with special, stereotypical, outlook. Okay, the project has 3 work packages. The first work package has to do with metrics. We get some data concerning our workforce and the percentages per lab and per research category. And the idea is to identify KPIs so to evaluate our situation and provide a roadmap for institutional interventions. Work package 2 has to do with best practices in research, and the work package 3 is a dissemination and communication work package. Okay, some data. We have something like 12, 13 labs in the institute. None of them has a leading female. All the lab PIs, the lab leaders, are males. Moreover, our scientific council I have data from 2016. Until now, almost 10 years now, most of the time, they are 6 out of 6 members males. Something interesting here is the other table there. There, we have the most valuable personnel award. Most of the time is given to male colleagues. Of course, this has also an explanation that since females are so sparse and so few, okay, the majority are males, so I mean they have a more probability to win to get the award or whatever, because they have broader representation. But okay, we could probably empower women, because there are a lot of capable women within ICS Forth who could probably gain the award as well. Okay, what we did, we counted ourselves per, I will pass very fast because I don't want to give details in data. We counted ourselves per staff category and per lab, okay? And these are the percentages per personnel category. As we see here, okay? The results are along with the whole fourth results. In all the staff, we are something like 30 to 70, more or less. And in the researchers' positions, the elected researchers, you see we have something like, sorry, 87 to 13, 15 or whatever. In the postdoctoral researchers, okay, we have a percentage of 7 to 30, more or less. This is the administrative staff, which is the other way around. And this is the scientific and technical staff, where the representation of the females is okay, according to the total. But what I'd like to discuss here a bit is we see here at ICS Fourth, we have an award for undergraduate scholars. This award is given in the memory of the Stelios Fantakis, our ex-director and professor of the Computer Science Department of the University of Crete. And it is given by ICS Fourth to undergraduates of the CSD Department, Computer Science Department of the University of Crete. We see here that we have a similar percentage as the researchers, more or less, okay? I mean, very few girls even apply for this award, although the way of evaluation is quite objective. I mean, quite objective. It's objective because it has to do with metrics, it has to do with how well the undergraduates go with the grades in the courses they take. Also, how long it takes for them to complete, let's say, the semesters, and how successful they are in the courses of the semester. And although it's objective, we see that very few girls compete for this award, and also very few apply.
Because we don't know what's the percentage of women in the CSD department.
It is somewhere something like 25. No, students. I don't have analytic data. More or less, it's something like 28.
So it's reasonable to have this application. So it reflects the total percentage of the.
It reflects, yes. True. Okay. This is a restriction, but I'm thinking that there, in order to create some balance, we have to take some action there. Okay, so what we did here, we set up a gender balance index that evaluates fairness and balance, and we colored our labs as well as our personnel categories. So when the value of the index is 0, we are totally unbalanced, either red, male domination, purple, female domination. When we have, when the value is 1, then we are totally balanced and we agree. When the value is between 0 and 0.5, we have similarly red for male majority, purple for female majority, and we are heavily unbalanced. between 0.5 and 0.8, okay, fairly, balanced, but we need to do some work here. And from 0.8 to 1, okay, we are fair, we are balanced, we are green. So we colored our personnel category here and our labs here. And I have details per lab and per personnel category. So some discussion here that the leadership is totally unbalanced, that the most valuable personnel award and the undergrads awards might need to discuss how we could empower ladies to stand there. The scientific council, I think it might be quite easier here because we have some very capable researchers, ladies. We just need to persuade them to stand and go for participating in the scientific council. The postdoctoral researchers, where there is precarity in their contracts, we have a ratio 1 female per 2 males, while in collaborating faculty and the elected researchers, we see that the ratio is in favor of men. In the project management or research management, as Maria said earlier, and the secretariat, the administrative staff, we have the other way around, okay? So we see that the academic ladder from undergrads to the higher level position suffers most. Okay. So after we did some study visits abroad, we visited Anna in Austria and NTNU in Norway, and we discussed a lot with people with a lot of experience. We have a list of suggestions for interventions, and I have categorized a little bit here. We have the category for recruitment. So there is an idea, and this is something that happens in Democritus Research Center anymore, initiate a research branch on inclusion, diversity, equity, and technoethics, and probably try at least to have a collaborating researcher to support this activity. Another idea is to create in our organizational, structure, create something like middle-level management positions to create opportunities for younger researchers to climb up and build a career. What we have already done, and it was mentioned this morning by Professor Dimitris Plexusakis, it is that we have established already a European working group within ERSIM framework. ERSIM is a coalition of research centers in mathematics and informatics. And we have created, and the ICS Forth coordinates this working group in either Inclusivity, Diversity, and Equity working group. Concerning the monitoring of the whole thing, we needed to have a systematic way to monitor with specific KPIs to monitor our situation and the progress in order to get better. And we have some proposals here. We have our paradigm is this gender balance index, but this can be refined, and we have some ideas for future work, how to create better KPIs that could probably help fourth ICS, but fourth as a whole as well. Oops, sorry. Okay, concerning education, we have the idea to create training modules, probably standalone, but probably in a form of a training course, short, not many hours, that from the leadership, from the higher level positions to even the students or that do their thesis in fourth ICS could take this course in order to get informed and understand what it means inclusivity and diversity in the research working space. These are some ideas for empowerment. For example, design a mentoring scheme, try to empower females to participate in the scientific council, try to gender balance the most valuable personnel. What is a new proposal is to establish an award that it will not be personal, it will be a team award, okay? This award will be given to the lab or to the research team that has made progress in balance their, their synthesis. And of course, last but not least, we all know that we have a new building here, that it is for caring, for child caring. So we have definitely take active, steps in order to make this thing, this kindergarten work to support young families and researchers and give opportunities to have childcare within the premises, and this will relieve a lot of their time schedule and the difficulties we all face, especially the younger researchers when they have babies and young children. Okay, raising awareness actions like this one, like we have settled a permanent column in the newsletter, where it's a fourth ICS newsletter is a quarterly online newsletter, and we agreed with our director to have a permanent column there. So we will have 3 or 4 publications and announcements in this newsletter throughout the year. And tomorrow we will have our first Inclusion, Diversity and Equity coffee hour at the lobby of the cafeteria. And this is something that would probably be a good idea for networking, for a casual and relaxing discussion, for brainstorming, having once a month, half an hour, 45 minutes of coffee. People who are interested, they can exchange and, discuss and brainstorm all together and see, ideas would come from this activity. Okay, as I said, that inclusion, diversity, and equity in research practice, especially in computer science, that there are a lot of issues that could be raised and tackled is an important thing. And we have several researchers that their research interest is closely related to this thematic, this branch, and we have to activate them to participate, to produce results. This, I think, will give the incentive and will give a boost to this activity. I mean, and producing research results will embed principles of inclusion, diversity, and equity in the research practice. Okay, we have done a lot of communication and dissemination throughout this project. Something like 13 presentations up to now in several events. I will not get into detail. Our future work is to wrap up the project, to defend the list of interventions and communicate this to our community, research community, and to our leadership. And of course, to disseminate results, probably have a policy paper or the outcomes of the project to present them in an outer event conference or we work to this, Maria Makridaki and myself, we have created a web page. There is some information there. And of course, we will upload all the data from today's event. That's it. I will not get into the details. I have here a detailed presentation per lab, which taking this data, we are thinking of meeting with the labs. This is probably an action that we will do to show them their color and brainstorm with them how we could make it better. Of course, all this work has been based on background work that comes from Gender Equality Committee the previous years and my participation to this, which my participation to the Gender Equality Committee made me understand more what we are talking about and try to make, some steps forward. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer. Okay. So I think we can wrap up. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support, and thank you, Anna, for being here. I have here a small present for you. It is credit music in vinyl, and a cup from the Gender Equality Committee to get your coffee, and some souvenirs from the project, all yours. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you very much. And then, but everybody, let's. Okay. Since we are very group picture, yes. Since we are so few, let me stop the recording. Udah. Nothing. Stop. Stop share. Okay, let me put